Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS, citing dissatisfaction with the organization's deviation from its founding principles and failure to support member states in the fight against terrorism. Nigeria's president and ECOWAS chairman Bola Ahmed Tinubu earlier declared war on Niger Republic, causing the military rulers of Mali and Burkina Faso to back Niger up. In retaliation, the military rulers of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are withdrawing their countries from ECOWAS with immediate effect in a joint resolution after 49 years of existence in the regional bloc. The three states say ECOWAS has moved away from the ideals of its founding fathers and spirit of Pan-Africanism, and the bloc has been captured under the influence of foreign powers, betraying its founding principles, and has become a threat to its member states and its populations, whose happiness it is supposed to ensure. That is from Colonel Amadou Abdramin, Niger junta spokesman, who said it in a statement. Captain Ibrahim Traore, Colonel Assimi Goita, and Brigadier General Abdraman Tieni says ECOWAS, which is currently under the leadership of the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, has adopted an irrational and unacceptable posture by imposing illegal, illegitimate, inhumane, and irresponsible sanctions in violation of its own principles. History will remember that it was one man in Abuja who was single handedly responsible for breaking up ECOWAS, one of the few things we have ever managed to get somewhat right in West Africa. History will remember those of us who tried to stop this from happening. This is from David Hundeyin, an investigative award winning journalist. Let it also be on record that a withdrawal from ECOWAS is a vote of no confidence on Nigeria, the predominant power in ECOWAS, and its leader, who is the current ECOWAS chair. From research and findings, it took West Africa 48 years to build ECOWAS, and it took Tinubu 8 months to tear it down. Now, these countries that are leaving ECOWAS is a sign that all is not well with West Africa. And they have said that the founding fathers have left the spirit of Pan-Africanism because they are being captured by the influence of foreign powers who is trying to exert their interests in Africa. Africa has never been free. It has been colonized with the new leadership of ECOWAS. That is some of their accusations. He said that the president and chair of ECOWAS, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has adopted an irrational and unacceptable posture of imposing illegal, illegitimate, inhumane, and irresponsible sanctions in violation of its own texts. We have five major countries that are responsible for the chaos that is going on in ECOWAS. We have France, we have China, we have Russia, we have the United Kingdom, and the United States. These countries are colonial masters in Africa that are still interested in the region's national resources. Remember, it is said that France was the one that pushed the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria and also ECOWAS chairman to go into a conflict with Niger Republic. But however, he was being stopped by the northern politicians, the northern powers in Nigeria, because they saw that move as something that would not benefit their region. Niger Republic is a military republic. We have Burkina Faso, we have Mali. These guys are run by the military, and the ideals of ECOWAS would not favor them. Probably that's one of the reasons why they had to pull out of the ECOWAS. Nigeria is said to be financing ECOWAS, if not more than 80% of its finances. Nigeria constitutes most of what we have in ECOWAS today. And when you look at these colonial masters, the UK, France, China, Russia, Nigeria has ties with most of these countries. There's a politics that has been played. Niger Republic has a lot of uranium which France is interested in, and it seems the military junta is depriving France from having its way into its natural resources. But they might want to use ECOWAS, play the politics, use ECOWAS to make sure that they pressure them to return back to democracy, because from the look of things, democracy has, however, helped the colonial masters have access to resources even after independence of these countries. It is believed that there is so much pressure on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, by the government of France to help them oust the military junta in Niger Republic because of interests that France has in that country. Russia and China may be playing a different kind of politics to spite the UK, the US, and also France because of the ongoing conflict they have with the Russia Ukraine. Russia alliance with Africa is mainly to spite the UK, the US, and also other colonial powers that belong to NATO that is causing havoc between Russia and Ukraine. This politics, I believe, may be one of the reasons why they may have advised these countries to leave the ECOWAS so as to destabilize this united West African states that has been held under the grip of France, UK, US, and other international interests. I don't know whether to call this a good news because Africa not uniting is going to be a big problem for our development. Another problem is that African leaders have shown to be puppets of the West, doing the biddings of the West. And that is not going to be good for Africa neither. So if I'm going to be happy that ECOWAS is splitting, four countries are leaving ECOWAS, I don't know how happy I'm going to be. But if our leaders, African leaders, are being used by foreign interests, foreign powers, to impoverish its own people by sucking the mineral resources of the continent, then I will approve that these associations do not exist. Now, former spokesperson of PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, his name is Boala. He has come out to defend Bola Ahmed Tinubu's position on the ECOWAS. He said that the withdrawal of the three West African nations from ECOWAS has nothing to do with the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership or lack of leadership. He say it has everything to do with the dynamics of proxy trade conflicts between Russia, China, and the NATO. You know, Russia, we have China, the NATO, we have the UK, US, and France, and every other European country. He further went on to say that Nigeria is not at war with both blocs, so we are good, and President Tinubu would find a path for lasting peace in ECOWAS. Let's focus on our nation, and together as a people, we will find solution to our age-long problems. This personally, I want to look at it from a broader perspective. The politics that is being played on the international scene is very, very important because it contributes to our growth. Most of the things that we have to do with international trade would affect the economy of ECOWAS and West Africa. Now, these nations that have pulled out, if we are going to be importing anything from these nations, we have to go through a rigorous system. Yes, not like the West African trade privileges that we have. So, my suggestion is that the president find a way of bringing these people together and find a way to compromise with the West because I believe that there is an influence from either France or the United Kingdom to make sure that Niger and other military junta in West Africa come back to democracy because it is going to favor these colonial masters. Whether the exit of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and the rest would benefit Nigeria or Nigeria will be disadvantaged, I don't know that for now because Nigeria is seen literally as ECOWAS. 80% of what constitutes ECOWAS is Nigeria. So if that's going to be a problem or that will relieve Nigeria, I don't know. But the most important thing is that any dissolution of African organizations will not be advantageous to the region. Before Tinubu traveled to France, some things happened, and let's look at the sequence of events. First, Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, United States, visited the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Nigeria. The next thing that happened that he had to jet off to France for a 2 week holiday, and after he had to move to France, the next thing we heard was that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are opting out of ECOWAS. Does this sequence of events have anything to do with the visits of Anthony Blinken, US State Secretary, or Tinubu going to France For those that understand international politics, you know that there's a politics that is being played by these people. Most times, I wonder whether African leaders would not play their politics and rely on the West to survive, especially African leaders. They are the ones drawing us back. When people say that they prefer the military regime to democracy, some people will find faults in it. This is one of the reasons why we are being controlled by the West, despite the fact that we have democracy. But the West is threatened with any kind of military government in Africa. That's why you find them very, very hard on countries that we have military coups and the military take over that country. They know that it doesn't benefit them. Just look at what happened in Niger, how France is losing out, and how France is carrying out operations in the north of Nigeria because northern leaders rejected Tinubu's invasion of Niger Republic, which will favor France. And France, infuriated by the action of the northern leaders in Nigeria, are planning to make sure the region does not have peace. We know that some reports have told us that most of the terrorist activities that go on in Africa are being sponsored by the West. So I'm not surprised you will see increase in terrorism in the north. Let's see what the president Tinubu does after this development. Let's see how he reacts to the situation.